When we recover from physical illness or mental illness or trauma, it's almost as if we've been living like in a black box or underwater our whole life, and all of a sudden we burst out and the air is new and our breath is new and the way we understand our awareness has expanded so much, and we can start to see, oh, there are these things in my past, these difficult experiences or these relationships or these patterns that fueled the way I was, the old me, the sick me, the traumatized me. And I think when we go through this process of recovery and experience this huge illumination or transformation, there is so much that comes with it, and it can be our instinct to jump towards the light or to breathe in the beauty of our newness and our changed, altered, expanded perceptions of the world, and the ability to relate and change and choose and set boundaries and all of these wonderful things. Something that I think is really important to acknowledge is that time underwater or in that black box, the time when we were sick or traumatized, however it manifested for us, it took something. It took something from us. And it may have taken months or years or decades. But often what it takes is our ability, our power to live in a conscious, grounded way where we can feel healthy and make decisions and live the life that we really want. Often when we're experiencing illness or trauma, there is a very deep level of disempowerment. And because, our bodies are affected and our minds and spirits are affected, it's almost as if we're unable to create the life we want, to have the relationships we want. We're unable to create change when we're existing underwater or in that box. We don't have access to the air, the life, the awareness that we need. And so once we get it, it's very easy to just enjoy it. But in my experience, there is this requirement to acknowledge, hey, that time of difficulty took something from me, and I'm never going to get that back. And there can be a deep grief that comes with it, and there can also be an anger. And often when we come to this place of illumination and wellness and balance and happiness, we sometimes don't make space to acknowledge what we have lost and acknowledge that sucked and it wasn't fair, because it's through no fault of our own that we've become sick or that we've been traumatized earlier in our life. And I think making a space to acknowledge and feel and process and release those emotions is really important. I know for myself, this has come up in layers through my experience of recovery and thriving in the world as a healthy, whole, happy woman. Often I find myself trying to do many, many, many different things and to be this light, thriving woman and to excel and thrive and achieve because I can now. I have the capacity and the energy to do that. So for me, I was physically sick for over a decade. So I really didn't have the energy to do all of these things. And sometimes I catch myself in this pattern where I'm like pushing and I want to do more, and I like feel very outcome oriented and like I'm going to live and I'm going to thrive. And that in itself can push me into a state of overwhelm. So I have to stop and check myself and acknowledge, well, okay, the reason I'm pushing is I think I'm trying to make up for that lost time, all those years where I couldn't work the way I wanted to work. I couldn't have the relationships I wanted to have. I couldn't, I couldn't live, basically. My ability to live was impaired. And so when I notice that I'm falling into that pattern, I stop and I acknowledge the grief or the anger that comes. And I find they often come, in different waves depending on what's going on in the world right now. So I'm just sharing this because I think it's a really interesting part of the recovery journey. And I know that it's very prevalent in my own experience, and I have also witnessed it in so many others. So if you find yourself pushing or just really orienting only towards the positive and the joy and really trying to get in there and stay in there, this is a gentle suggestion to check why. We spend a lot of our time overcompensating or disproving our deepest shadows, and so this is one that I notice that comes up even when we are well and we are thriving and so much more aware than before. There's always more to unpack. We're always layering on new experiences and delayering old experiences, and this is just one I wanted to share that I'm facing on my own journey.